Try to think of something that you can't explain with words. You see, the thing is, you can't. Most of what we know has a name, and if we discover something that doesn't, we usually get on that pretty fast. Even whenever it doesn't have a name, we can put things into categories based on traits it has or doesn't have. These two things we call chairs, even though they are made of completely different materials and have different styles. We call them this based off of a number of factors. Let's take this thing. We don't have a name for it yet, but we can still put it in the category of not a chair, because it doesn't have the defining features of a chair. But that really isn't helpful to a lot of situations to put things into these two different categories, so we make a lot more categories to put things in based off of a large list of things. It's not really helpful to do this all the time, considering the fact that these categories can change what they mean to some people, but not the rest. And who really has the power to change the categories of things, and what defines them? Whenever people think that they have the power to change what these categories mean, and a lot of people disagree with them, we end up having these really unhelpful categories that nobody can really decide that this is the defined set of things for it, or we just leave it very vague because people don't want to mess around with one of them. My favorite example of this is the category of a continent. This is extremely unhelpful considering that the category is described as any of the world's main continuous expanses of land. So let's look at a map and let's apply the basic American continent count, and we already see this weird thing right up here. This is Europe, and this is Asia, but where is the line between them? It's all just one big long continuous stretch of land. Some people call this area Eurasia to try to fix up our little blunder we made here, but even the term Eurasia is defined as the combined continental landmasses of Europe and Asia. The only true difference between these two continents are the cultural divides, which, if we start making continents based off this, well, we'll probably have quite a bit more. Basically one for every country, and a few for the larger countries. If we do combine it into Eurasia, that means that we would have to combine the landmasses of North and South America. You could actually walk from Canada to the tip of South America uninterrupted. There is that Panama Canal, but there are ways to go through that just by walking. A lot of countries just call these two continents the Americas and count it as one. And if we do that, we should actually combine Eurasia and Africa into this massive supercontinent, since they are still attached, despite the fact that this little area right here has a canal in it. And you have these two massive supercontinents, which Australia looks pretty small compared to them. So, what really makes Australia different from being a continent to being the king of the islands? Greenland really isn't too far behind in size. Why don't we just have Greenland become a continent if we do leave Australia as one? And what stops it from being there? All islands are just continuous stretches of land, so you could really have a lot of them. You could look back at the definition and see that it states a main continuous stretch of land, but what does that word even mean in this context anyways? If by main do you mean populated by several countries, or populated by a lot of people? If so, that would completely knock out Antarctica, considering that it has no countries and no citizens. Also, at this point, let's take a look at Antarctica. Look how massive that is, just taking up the entire bottom of the map. Let's just remove all those different ice shelves that make this up, and oh, look at that, it's a whole lot of small islands. Which, if you go by what we said beforehand with Greenland and all the other islands, that means that Antarctica is just a whole lot of different continents. Oh, world system is pretty good, and we can put almost anything into a category to help classify it, but what categories we have sometimes aren't really that well defined and can cause confusion. Hopefully future generations will help get over this problem whenever they come up with that whole global language. Thanks for watching.